All right. I'm watching Mr. Enter's Turning Red review. I started the stream earlier and then I rambled for like 20 minutes about a video I'm making. And I realized, why am I talking about this? Uh, I don't really have a point to make here, and I've just rambled for 10, 15, 20 minutes on something that no one cares about. So we're just going to start Mr. Enter's Turning Red review, and we're just going to analyze it as it goes on. Because I've heard that this one's amazing. I've heard so many great things about it. I'll be honest, I like Mr. Enter. He's a very unique content creator, and I think that it's just one of these things. It's fun to just see what he comes out with next, because sometimes he makes a really good video. His series on big tech was really good. His video on COVID was really good. His personal video that he made in the aftermath and all this stuff, that was also good. He has a lot of really good reviews. I think his later animated atrocities were like his animated atrocity series gets better over time, and I don't know, it's a mixed bag with Mr. Enter, much like the title of his video with Turning Red. And I didn't watch this yet. I have not watched it yet, but I saw a clip on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh no, I really, I really have to watch this now because I want to know what's going on." why is everyone why is everyone going crazy over this one? Who knows? What I can say for sure is that at time of streaming, his comments are turned off. So that's a thing. Oh, why am I recording? I don't want to record. I want to press play on
So
the
I
video.
watched Turning Red recently, the latest Pixar film. What took me so long to see this one? Well, I was actually avoiding it for a couple of reasons. Most notably, the trailer. Like, I think that even people who like this movie will agree that the trailer is really, really bad. Personally, it showed me that everything I didn't like in a movie would be in this one, with a super in-your-face attitude. And it didn't really make any arguments of
So that's just already the thing. He has laid it out really well. He knew going into it that he wouldn't like it. So that's where we're starting. Let's see where it goes from here.
how a transformation into a red panda could actually carry a movie. It seemed like an incredibly light, simple premise. And the other reason that I didn't want to watch Turning Red at first was because if I did, I knew I'd have to talk about it. And
So I don't think the transformation into a panda is what's supposed to carry the movie. I haven't watched the movie. I have no intention to watch this movie. I will link a time-stamped video in the description below where you can listen to Nick Rekieta talk about this movie. I don't want to watch this movie because it just seems really dumb and really gross because it's all about periods, and I'm like, okay, congratulations, women have made a movie about periods. I'm not gonna watch it, but if that's your thing, go ahead. I'm not gonna stop you. I'm not gonna stop you from making it. I'm not gonna stop you from enjoying it. I'm just not interested. That's just how it is.
if I knew I had anything other than super glowing praise for it, we were going to have another Turtles situation. So I watched
I don't know what Turtles is. I have no clue what he means by that.
the film, and I have something other than super glowing praise for it.
Oh no, he went in knowing that he probably wouldn't like the movie, and now he's telling me that he really didn't like the movie, and I don't know where this is going. Why is that a bad thing? Uh, you just didn't like the movie that very much. It's fine. You don't have to like every movie that comes out. This is just, It doesn't mean anything.
And now I'm going to talk about it. With the chaos and the drama this movie has caused, it's really tempting to just go one way or the other. Praise it for being shocking and daring and tackling new ground. Or to go in the other direction and absolutely eviscerate the film. It's
I don't know. I don't really know what's shocking and daring or groundbreaking about this movie. I guess the fact that it's about periods, but I just don't care. The trailer looked ugly. It just didn't seem like a movie I'd like, so I'm not watching it.
really cementing itself.
Now, if I decided, oh, I want to make a video on it, then I'd watch it and I'd tell my opinion on it. That's perfectly fine. You can go into a movie that you probably wouldn't like, and maybe there'll be something in it, or maybe the whole thing will be good, and you'll be able to say that you're pleasantly surprised. But I don't know where it's going. I know where this part's going because I saw the first 2 minutes of it before I hit the button.
For the Ghostbusters effect. It's not a movie, it's a political argument. Like Thundercats Roar, High Guardian Spice, or Masters of the Universe Revelation before it. Or
I don't like this sort of thing now. I understand where he's coming from, and I don't know. I think I understand where he's coming from, because you have all these movies. It's like, oh, well, here's Ghostbusters, but it's all women, and we forgot what made the original Ghostbusters great. Please enjoy our new movie. Oh, it bombed. Oh well. That's just sort of how it goes. It's here's the new version of She-Ra and He-Man. Oh, well, it's not the same as you remember it because we changed it. Here's Thundercats. LOL XD random stuff happen. Great show, right? You didn't like Thundercats because it had Cal art style. And what people mean by Cal art style is the simple bean face. Full as the mouth, and then you make the head a bean, and you're done. You accessorize, and that's done. And I understand why people absolutely despise that style, because I don't know where it came from. I'm also saying, like, a lot of things where people go to art school and they'll start out, they've already done like a lot of art, and you can compare the before and after. Oh man, I don't have it to pull up, but there was one where someone did a before and after, and this person in the comments below praised her progress and how great she was doing, only to have the artist say, I'm sorry, but like, that was the old picture, and the new picture's the one that you didn't praise as much. It's terrible.
She-Ra, or I can keep going on. These arguments are largely annoying, and they shouldn't be engaged in on any side of the argument, whether you're a defender or a detractor. If you're a detractor, it elevates the status of the movie and gives it more importance than it really deserves. If you're a defender, you obscure the actual merits of the movie and turn it into a target, which actually does hurt the artists in the long run, and hurts the actual political headway of whatever movement you're arguing for even more. Oh, that's not even mentioning that you're playing pawns to billion-dollar corporations that have packaged your personal values and have sold them back to you. Turning Red is a mixed bag. Actually, I don't even know if that's the best way to describe it. It is the Pixar film that I am the most mixed on. There are Pixar films that I absolutely love, like Soul, WALL-E, or Ratatouille. There are Pixar films I don't like Cars 2. And then there are Pixar films I don't care about, like A Bug's Life or The First Cars. Turning Red is...
I like the first Cars. It was pretty good. And I think A Bug's Life, man, I don't remember. I think, in all honesty, the thing I liked most about A Bug's Life was that animated short that you have before the show. Because there's that animated short of that old guy playing chess. And there's so many good things about A Bug's Life, but it's been so long since I watched it. I need to rewatch A Bug's Life. That was a pretty good movie. What was it? A Bug's Life and Ants with the Z were the two big ones. They were competing against each other.
Film I'd probably like if it wasn't for some glaring problems that took me right out of the experience time and again. So Turning Red stars an Asian Canadian girl named Miley, growing up in Toronto in 2002, where one night she learns that she becomes a giant red panda whenever she feels any particularly strong emotions. This is complicated by the fact that she has an overbearing mother, is going through middle school, and puberty. It's a fairly simple movie despite all the drama, and yet there's a ton to talk about. I'm going to start with what held me back from actually enjoying the movie, and that is May's mother, Ming. I'm going to be dead straight with you. I hated this character so much that I thought I would have to stop watching the movie. Ming is a helicopter parent, the type who controls every little thing about their child's life and are super panicked that a slight deviation from their plan will harm their child. So they create this self-fulfilling prophecy, where they hurt their child so much more than the rest of the world could. Every time that Ming was on screen, I was angry. The two most infamous bits you've probably heard of, when she finds drawings of May's crush and drives her down to the store to show the boy in them what May did. And the other time is when she came down to school unprompted to try and give May menstrual pads without any...
Oh my god. I don't want to watch this movie anymore. I feel like that's intentional. I feel like they want you to know the helicopter parent is the bad person. And I feel like they'll have executed that part well if you hate Ming so much. I don't know the names. I missed the names. But yeah, the mother, if she's helicoptering so much, I feel like you'll quickly establish that she is more times than not in the wrong in this movie. And that her attempts to do what she thinks is the right thing end up hurting her child more than they help. I think that's the goal that the creators are trying to establish. They're trying to make that clear for the audience. And if they did that well and they made you upset with her for being a moron, then I think they've succeeded. But if they've gone so far that it takes you out of the movie because it's so unrealistic, that's something else. But these two things, honestly, they don't sound too unrealistic. I can imagine some crazy person doing this.
Self-awareness that she was doing it in front of her whole class. There's also a third moment that really struck me, and that's when May goes to Tyler's party, and Ming was so blind to any possible reasons that May might rebel, especially after the first two incidents, that she basically stops May from seeing her friends. Every time Ming was on screen, this was some of the most uncomfortable a Disney Pixar film has ever made me feel. And need I remind you that this is a film about puberty, in which the problem is solved with twerking. So, defenders will rush and say that this behavior is accurate, especially in Asian communities. And there's a kernel of truth to the kernel of truth here. Asian communities are definitely at least stereotypically strict in upbringing. So, pardon my ignorance. Is it realistic to take a child's drawing of a crush, drag her down to a convenience store, and confront the person in said drawing in a store full of people? Especially if you are under the delusion that these things actually happened, despite one of the drawings being the boy as a merman. Is it really realistic to try and directly give menstrual pads to someone and not leave them with a nurse at school? Ming's behavior is too over the top. Actually, no, it's not. That's actually the problem. The problem is that it's realistic. It's something that could feasibly happen if you were one of the worst, most brain-dead people on Earth. It's not like, say, Doofenshmirtz, who also had a hard upbringing. So hard that neither of his parents showed up for his actual birth. If you want to talk about realism, we need to talk about Encanto. This was a Disney film also about generational trauma, which seems to be the theme of the season. Mirabel's grandmother was guilty of pretty much the same things. Being overly controlling, trying to keep her family in the perfect boxes that she imagined for them. Of course, Encanto didn't make me want to smash my computer because it was subtle. You could constantly understand the reasons that Alma was doing the things that she was doing, even if you didn't agree with them. And in the end, you want to see Alma get better, not have her taken away in the back of a police car.
Ah, nice. This is a good comparison. I haven't seen Encanto either, but when you're making this comparison, when he's explained it very well now, I understand. So, parenting, it goes above and beyond everything. Okay, so I can see why he's taken out of the movie by this. And he has the basis for something else that does the same idea very well. So I think he's made a solid point here. I think this is fine. I don't know how objectively I view it, though. It's one of those things. I feel like this is a very subjective aspect of it because you can say it is very over the top with Ming and not with, like, I forgot her name already, the grandma from Encanto. That these are two different products and they have two different tones. So me not knowing anything about them, maybe in Turning Red, Ming's behavior towards May is so unbelievable and so ridiculous that it would take me out of the film. And maybe if I watched Encanto, I would have a better understanding of Abuela, and I would like Abuela more than I like Ming comparatively. But I don't really have a basis because I haven't watched the films. And I don't know, it would be something I'd have to compare. I really don't want to watch the period movie, though. I have some interest in watching Encanto. It's just, I'll probably do that when I do a free trial of Disney Plus so I can rewatch the Rey trilogy of Star Wars so I can complain about what happened with Star Wars. As someone who grew up as the last film was coming out in 2005. I was a very small child at the time, and it was great. That movie was amazing because they had that long, super long sword fight. Ooh, that was so cool. I think that if I watched the sequel trilogy at the same age, let's say it was made as it is now with lower quality effects because they didn't have the technology in 2005, I don't know if it would have as much of a lasting impact on me as one, Darth Maul getting cut in half. That fucked me up forever. That fucked with my head. I was like, oh my god, that's terrible. And I just loved that moment. Just watching his limbs fall down the endless pit. That was my favorite thing. It was like, oh my god, that's so epic. I liked the first one, and I liked the old trilogy too. I had a friend lived walking distance from me, and they had the original Star Wars films on VHS tape, and they didn't have any of the extra stuff that Lucas added in later, and it blew my mind, like how even it blows my mind now how I was so bothered by the additions Lucas made as like a 12-year-old when we got all the Star Wars movies in one box set. I actually have the box set over here because I am working on making a Star Wars video. And what I have to watch now is I have to watch Return of the Jedi, then the prequels, then the Skywalker saga. So I guess maybe while I'm watching the Skywalker saga, I will be watching Turning Red and Encanto because I've heard so many things about them. I will look into it. But what we have right here is we have something I can't verify. It's not like me looking at Star Wars and saying, hey, here's the original version of Return of the Jedi, and here's the current version of Return of the Jedi. You see this weird monster thing that's just singing randomly? Get it the fuck away from me. It's disgusting. It takes me out of the movie. If that's what Ming is for Turning Red, if Ming is the equivalent of some weird low budget CGI monster thingy being thrown into one of the best movies of all time, then I understand. I'm not saying Turning Red's the best movie of all time. I'm just saying it's probably an okay movie. It's probably well made. It's a Pixar movie after all. And yeah, it's one of those things. It's an okay film, and then suddenly you have like this weird thing in it that just messes with everything. If that's what Ming is, then I understand the point.
This is like trying to redeem Doofenshmirtz's parents and doing it in a realistic way, and have it all heartfelt at the end. This is not a combination that works. Ming doesn't come across as understandably or realistically strict at any point in the movie. She comes across as psychotic. Luckily for the film, anytime that Ming isn't on screen, the movie gets a lot better. I wouldn't call it one of Pixar's best, still, but it would have been a tier above something like Onward, which felt a lot like wasted potential. Part of the Ming problem actually comes from the movie's style. It is a very much in-your-face, and takes a lot of cues from anime, with even mundane things being shot as over-the-top as possible, which is a baffling choice if you're making something that's supposed to tell some kind of down-to-earth lesson. This movie really feels like it was made for the TikTok generation. I mean, it was, obviously, it was released in 2022, but the movie also takes place in 2002, and that creates many problems with the film.
Oh no, we're at that part. Oh no.
Like, I hear some of the slang in this film, like the word besties, and while that term did apparently exist way back when, you would not be hearing that in middle school. The movie also overestimates how common cell phone use was among middle schoolers at the time. It wasn't until the mid to late 2000s when cell phones became a common thing in middle schools. Like,
yeah, no. Phone plans in the early 2000s, ridiculously expensive. You had a home phone back then. You would call your friend on the home phone, and you would get their parents on the other line, and they'd say, yeah, they're right here. Let me give the phone to them." And you talk on the phone, and then they'd hang up. That's how it worked. You'd use the landline, as it was called back in the day.
unless the family was rich, even the adults at the time would be using beepers. The anime style also feels off due to the time period. While anime did exist in the West, obviously, besides Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball, Pokemon, or Yu-Gi-Oh!, it was pretty niche until
I don't know. I don't think
Zatch Bell, One Piece, and so on. I mean, anime definitely was there, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the styling of the time. Speaking of which, by 2002, boy bands were on the way out. That is literally the year that Justin Timberlake went solo, effectively ending the craze for a decade.
So yeah. Him talking about 2002. Listen, I was probably like 5 at the time, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if trends are on the way out. You can still justify people still having a like of the trend. Man, this screen I've paused on. I really don't want to watch this movie. I really don't want to watch this movie. Look at her face. Look at her face. Look at his face. This movie just looks so ugly. It's I'm just being honest. This movie just looks terrible.
2002 wasn't a very in-your-face time either. It was quiet. It was grungy. Linkin Park was one of the biggest bands in the world.
Oh my god. Oh no. See, if you ever wonder why I go on tangents, it's because I dread what comes next in the videos I watch. I have a different channel. I'm not gonna shill it here. I'm not even gonna link it anywhere. But I'm just gonna say, I watch political videos. I do this sort of thing, and I'll look at it. I did it once with Wisecrack, and if you ever wonder why I'm going on random tangents that seem unrelated to whatever's going on, that is literally me not wanting to press play on the video. I'm just trying to find something else to talk about because I'm dreading it. This was the part I was dreading. Oh my god. He's going on about the style of the movie and saying that the style of the movie conflicts with the time period. I don't know that it does. I don't know that there's anything wrong with the style being different from the time period. The style isn't different from the time period. Okay, if there's like glaring issues where, so let's say the movie's set in 2002 and they have iPhones in 2002, that's a glaring issue that bothers me. That would bother me. If all the kids had laptops in the classroom, that would bother me. The fact that they all have phones, that's something that should bother you. That is fine because yeah, phone's expensive. You're not giving your kid a cell phone unless you're rich, like he said. But all this stuff that he's bringing up, I don't. I'm like, no, no. I don't even know what to add to it. It's just no. Like, let me rewind it. Okay, he's talking about how anime wasn't a big deal back in the day.
Tricklings of things like Zatch Bell wasn't the styling of the time.
Okay. Oh, they didn't like Oh my god, this movie looks so ugly. Let me go to studio mode. My god, this movie just looks so fucking ugly. I don't want to watch it. I'm not gonna watch this movie. It just looks terrible. I just don't want to watch it. They got the bean face thing going on. I think the problem with that bean face is it just looks cheap. And then you get your piece of paper. Okay, you go to your paint tool. I'll give a demonstration. So anyways, you click on this and you get your pen or pencil tool, whichever you want. And then you draw the bean face. And give them teeth. And I'm doing this with a mouse. So forgive me for being inaccurate. I don't have like the fancy Wacom tablet. And then you draw the bean. And then you give them an eye. A fancy cartoon character right there. You give them an ear because they're a doggo. Here, and this will be like, look, I can make it better. Where's Where's the bucket? There's no bucket tool. Better yet, you get the circle, then you do the other circle, and then, actually, hang on. I'm gonna Control C that, Control V that. Okay, I've wasted too much time on this. But yeah, I just don't like that style. It's ugly. Seriously, give me a little bit more time to practice doing the mouse thing. Let me lower the DPI on my mouse. Let me get like a drawing tablet. Let me get a sheet of paper. I will show you what I mean. Not today. Save it for another time. But yeah, it's like, okay, I get it. Anime wasn't big in 2002. Just because it's styled like anime or whatever doesn't detract from the show. They didn't have phones in 2002. That's a weird thing, that they would forget about that for the setting. I think it would have been more interesting. Look at this. Look at this. Let's think about this. She has an overbearing mom. And instead of having cell phones be ubiquitous, as they were not in 2002, how about you have home phones, and she has to talk on the home phone, and the mom listens in on some of the conversations because they have like 2 home phones in the house, and the mom can just pick up the phone and listen in on the conversation. She's eavesdropping, and oh, that ruins the plans. Look at that. We're realizing ways that this bad alteration to the setting has ruined the film because there's lower stakes now. Because they can just talk on the cell phone. That's bad. But a lot of this other stuff, it just doesn't matter.
Speaking of which, by 2002, boy bands were on the way out. That is literally the year that Justin Timberlake went...
It doesn't matter that it's a boy band. Any concert, whatever, they're going to a concert. Okay? It doesn't matter what the band is. It doesn't matter that it's a boy band. I don't care.
solo, effectively ending the craze for a decade. 2002...
Like, this is the plot to Jimmy Neutron. They want to go to Retroland, or whatever. They sneak out and go to Retroland. They have no parents. And they wish that their parents weren't going to bother them while they went and did kid stuff. And they sneak out and do all the fun things while their parents aren't watching. And then they learn their lesson at the end of the day about, oh no, don't do that.
It wasn't a very in-your-face time either. It was quiet. It was grungy. Linkin Park was one of the biggest bands in the world. Everyone was emotional and full of angst. Like, there's one guy in the school who has this emo look, and yeah, that is 2002, right there. The whole movie should look like that. And that's partially because there's an elephant in the room that you do have to realize if you want to say, golly geez, let's set this film in 2002 for no reason. This film takes place less than a year after the September 11th terrorist attacks.
Oh no! 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 Don't do it!
I bring this up because it radically altered the culture of the time, in ways that make this movie feel exceptionally ignorant of the time, even though...
Like, the stuff with the panda looks fine. But it's all this other stuff. It just makes me not want to watch it.
Literally, the only reason I can comprehend that this movie is set explicitly in 2002 is because the director grew up in that exact year. Yes, this film takes place in Canada, not the United States, but all over the Western world. Canada, America, the UK, much of Europe, people were paranoid because 9/11 wasn't the only terror attack that had happened. It was the major theme of the decade.
It was a major theme of the decade, but you know what? Even though there was a big terror attack, life went on. Life went on. People still had fun. People still did stuff. Kids probably weren't as aware of it as adults. Okay, I'm just gonna say it right now. On September 11th, 2001, there are photographs of me at my grandparents' house having a fucking birthday party. Life goes on even when things are bad. That's just a thing that happens. This is after the attacks. Okay, these are kids. They're just doing what kids do. Okay, and that's the point of the movie. Oh, they didn't have the 9/11 attacks in this movie. Who gives a fuck?
I mean, I can understand not wanting everyone to be so fearful, as that goes against the tone that the movie is trying to establish. But then you have very awkward moments if you actually were there and you do actually remember the time period. Like, the moment with Ming, this strange adult standing outside the school with a box. An adult that no one wants to account for, completely trying to obscure her appearance and getting attention of the kids in the school.
So here's what I will say. If in that sequence they had just suddenly been like, oh yeah, there's security at the school because terrorists or whatever, and then this whole thing is happening, I don't think that would mesh well with the film. Just based on what I'm looking at. Just based on all this garbage I'm looking at. I don't think, oh, by the way, terrorists are scary goes with the period movie. I don't think it matches the menstruation theme. I'm just gonna be perfectly honest there. So I don't get it.
In Real World 2002, she wouldn't just be confronted by the school security guard, she would be tackled by the police and hauled in. Like, here's the thing. If they picked 1999 or 2000 or literally any year that was not 2002, this movie's setting would make a lot more sense.
I don't care. I really don't care. Oh god, how long does this go on for? It's like
1999. I could buy the in-your-face attitude, the boy band stuff. That was an optimistic year, despite everything else going on at the time. And on top of that, the movie doesn't get anything at all by setting itself in 2002. The boy band Four Town could have been replaced with any other musical act.
See, I don't even get what it gets from being set in 2002. I do think that's an important thing to dwell on. I think it would work a lot better if it was set modern day. COVID restrictions have just been lifted, and they want to go to the concert. They want to have fun. They don't want to wear their masks. They're going to go out there. They're going to have fun. I bet that's why they couldn't set it modern day. It's because you would have the COVID stuff. Well, we can't have the COVID stuff because that would be too heavy. I saw someone the other day say that 1.3 million Americans died of COVID. Oh boy. I didn't realize we lost a third of our population in the past year. If that had been the case, man, it's really crazy how no one's able to get a job.
Lack of cell phones and surveillance technology doesn't matter because May was caught on the news, and being hidden really isn't a goal in this film. I mean, I wouldn't set it in 2022, obviously, but taking place in just a vague, unspecified time like any other Disney Pixar film would have done this one so much favor.
I can agree with that. Okay, it's like The point I agree with. Everything leading up to it, I'm just like, but why are you talking about that?
Away Ming, and you take away the setting, and what's left with the film? You have a nice little story about a girl having something supernatural happening to her and going through it with her friends. And that is a nice part of the film. It's amazing, really. What the trailers made look like was going to be the worst part of the film was actually, in the end, probably its saving grace. May and her friends have very good chemistry. I just wish the film could be only about that, and it took more cues from something like Stand By Me. Because every time that it's not about that, the film struggles, and it struggles hard. Like, there's also May's father, Jin. He says like 2 words throughout the entire film, and then towards the end he decides that he wants to be an actual character, out of nowhere. The film is clunky. That's the best way to describe it. Which side of okay it's on depends on my mood, but it is vastly below Pixar's average. Or, well, it would have been 15 years ago. Oh yeah, there's also the puberty thing. It is really underplayed and the controversy is blown mega out of proportion. Beyond the metaphor of May turning into a red panda, you're not going to get much besides menstrual pads. Like, you could watch this film and think that the only symptom of going through puberty for May is turning into a giant red panda. And this is something that I'm getting really tired of happening, by the way. I don't know whether to call it shock advertisement or an offshoot of rainbow capitalism, where Disney and its stands say that everyone has to go see X, Y, and Z film and absolutely love it because it's so daring, so brave. You know, like how they add in a literal gay wink and a nudge, so they can claim that they have the first LGBT character in their film for the 20th time, in such a...
Listen, it's like the Ubisoft thing, where they had the first female character in a Ubisoft game. If you ignore the last time they had one, it's this just feels like it's jumped the shark, kind of. I understand where he's going with this, but I feel like the transition to this point needs to be a little smoother. Uh, I love the mention of rainbow capitalism though. That's funny. That's funny to me. I think the best way to do this is to just sort of say it reminds me of how they promote themselves with mentions of being pro this or that, and they show off how they are pro this or that, but at the end of the day, look at how they actually feel. Okay, look at that one scene in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. They have the same-sex couple together, and they're hugging and kissing, but they're off to the side so that they can easily be cut out of the shot at the end of the film. Then it can be released to China, no problem.
Small role that they can remove it for international audiences. You want animation that's daring? Watch Braceface.
I don't know if I can play the audio for this. Okay.
That show actually had a period episode with things like menstrual cramps mentioned, which aired in 2001. That was more than 20 years ago. And if you're not keeping score, that happened before this movie even took place. Cartoons were more daring and diverse back then than you probably give them credit for, and definitely more than the industry does today. Not so much with films, but actual on-television animation, yes. It was probably more diverse back then than it is now, even. You want to talk Asian characters animation? American Dragon Jake Long, Life and Time of Juniper Lee, Jackie Chan Adventures, Yume from Code Lyoko, Hi Hi Puffy Yumi, and that is also ignoring shows that try to showcase many or all ethnicities, like Class of 3000 or Hey Arnold. I'm not going to give easy credit for things that have already been done and done better 20 years ago. Or more, in the case of Hey Arnold. But if you want to keep giving credit to a mega corporation that stole your values and is trying to sell them back to you, keep on praising every little scrap of things that they will keep removing for an international market. Because the only color that Disney and these other corporations care about is green.
Yeah. That... Personally, I just feel like it should have just been... I watched Turning Red. I didn't like it. Here's why I didn't like it. And it just reminds me of blah, 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 blah. because I feel like him going down the whole 9/11 rabbit hole is just bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. uh oh, oh no. Wait a second. The stream was supposed to be unlisted so I could edit it. It didn't save my settings. Oh no. Where is it? Here it is. I have to go check. I have to go see if people were chatting. Let's see. Were there chats? I don't know. I can't tell. I have no clue. Oh well. Yeah, so at the end of the day, this review, it was okay. It's just there's so much better ways that this could have been done. So honestly, I don't want Enter to stop. I want him to keep going because I actually enjoy his videos. I like him as a creator. I find him interesting. I just think that he needs to work on structuring his points better because the whole thing, the very end of that video, oh, I closed it, but going down that 9/11 rabbit hole, talking about 2002, all of that stuff, it's just baffling. It's like you've jumped the shark here. You need to go back a little bit and work on your script again because you've missed an important bit here. And I feel like if he had just fleshed this out a little more, it probably would not have been as bad. But that's what you could say about most of his videos. And I don't know. I I think my big thing with Enter is that I see a lot of potential with him sometimes. I kind of I kind of think it would be funny to see EFAP react to this, though. I think that would be pretty good. uh, let's see. Yeah, I just rambled on for about 49 minutes. Overall, uh, the video is very mid. I get a lot of his points. I understand so many of his points that he's making. I think the big point of the video that he's trying to make, I'm listening to this and I'm translating it in my head and I'm comprehending it and I'm saying, I agree with you 100%. These corporations are definitely just, taking the piss with a lot of things. But I think in order to get to that point, you have to build up to it and you have to stick the landing in a way that works well with the structure of the video. Because when you go from, I didn't like this movie because the mom was annoying, and then you jump the shark to, oh, 2002 wasn't like this. Also, 9/11 was a thing, and now we're going to talk about alphabet people capitalism and how it's all for show and all for nothing. That whole build up and just jumping the shark all over the place just to get to that end point where you're saying something that I actually agree with and something that I feel is worth discussing about how it's just insane that this corporate art is so weirdly socio-political, and how it's so weirdly done in a way that it can be sold internationally in places that are like, oh, look out, the Chinese don't like the alphabet people. They're not fans of rainbow capitalism, as Enter calls it. Oh, we have these things that look pretty on paper. It reminds me of Wheel of Time. I really like the Wheel of Time books. I've been watching. I watched the whole series that's out now, and I just finished Winter's Heart last night about this time, and I'm doing this comparison in my head. Is this show actually going to get me to the end of Winter's Heart? I don't think so. And it's because this show is hollow and empty and just made for the lowest common denominator. It's generic fantasy. It's gutted of everything good about the Wheel of Time books, and it doesn't understand what makes the Wheel of Time books great. And then you can point at Disney and sort of say similar things. Well, looky here. We have the Turning Red movie that was made entirely by women, and when all women got together to make a good Pixar movie, what did they choose? They chose to make it about menstruation. And then what did they do with the advertising? Well, they told you to your face, oh, this movie is about periods. This movie is about menstruation. And blah, 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 blah. And so many people called it daring and stunning and brave. And then it wasn't really the focus of the movie. The actual focus of the movie was just another children's comedy. The kids rebel and they learn their lesson about being farts at the end. It's the Jimmy Neutron plot and all these other things. And I really think that you just have to build up to that. I think the final point he made, pointing to other shows that existed when I was a kid that did everything so much better than this, that's fair. It's just getting to that end point without sounding like a total idiot. If he could work on his scripts just a little longer, I really think these would be great. And that's why I watch Mr. Enter, is because you never know what you're gonna get with him. Sometimes you'll get a really good video with a lot of passion behind it, and sometimes you'll get one with passion behind it, but no second thoughts. No second draft has been done. So, Mr. Enter is a mixed bag. What else can you say? Thanks for stopping by. I've been rambling for over 54 minutes, almost 55 now. Have a good night. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy whatever you're doing at the moment.